night I was arrested, it was 3:35 in the morning, and there's a knock at the front door, and there's just, I don't know how many coppers, but a lot, with guns on and police flak jackets and copper racing. You know, I got a warrant to search these premises. I was absolutely dumbfounded. I felt that sick, I vomited. But it was the start of really the degradation of me.
I was taken in the back of a divvy van. I heard them talking about the thing that was in the back, and I realised then that I'd truly lost me. I was now a product of the system, and I had no voice or no name, nothing.
When the judge started, he absolutely gave it to me. I can remember holding onto the rails of the dock, thinking if I let go, I am going to faint. And I was whipped out of the court and put in a holding cell, and the door slams, and you don't know whether to cry, neck yourself, vomit.
The front light was still on, the car was in the driveway, wine glass was on the sink, the kids' electric blankets were on. The only thing missing was me.
I was transferred to Port Phillip Prison, put in maximum security, protection from protection. They put me in with a serial paedophile, and he was a serial masturbator. He just, you're in the cell and he'd start and you just go, oh, who needs this?
When I got to the Moorabbin Police holding cells, I walked in with an officer on either side of me, and it was very dark. It's almost underground, and it's just all concrete. I could hear about 10 different voices, women screaming and yelling and fighting. They took me to the desk and basically said, get the prisoner some blankets. And I remembered thinking, don't bring a prisoner in while I'm here. And it wasn't until they grabbed me by the arm that I realised that I was the prisoner.
The window that was supposed to be for ventilation is about 2 feet by probably 10 inches. And I can remember at night, I'd go and stick my head up against the window to try and get some fresh air because it was so hot in that. It's a concrete box with 2 blokes in it, and it's had the sun on it all afternoon, and it's 40 degrees outside. It's at least 45 in there, and you're lying on a plastic mattress with just a sheet over the top of it.
It was very, very, very cold. You weren't allowed to wear shoes or socks or anything like that. Most of us suffered from cramps, diarrhoea, lice.
I was like a rabbit caught in the headlights. I was jumpy, I was nervous.
It was at that point that I realised that I was no longer Kerry Tucker. I became prisoner 171435. You just sit there and you get called from one place to the other. You're told where to go at what time. You're not using your mind. You're not stimulating your mind at all.
It didn't take long to work out there's 3 options. 1, you hide in your cell all day long and cry and sit in the corner, or you do away with yourself, which I didn't really think was an option. The 3rd option is you do the best you can under difficult circumstances, and that's what I decided to do.
I remember sitting thinking, I can't do this, I've got to fight, I've got to learn how to cope with this, I've got to learn and find some feelings that are really strong feelings that are going to get me through this.
You realise that there's only one person that's going to get you through this, and that's you.
My psychiatrist had said that, you know, I was sort of at the edge of not coming back mentally. My sister sent me in a book called Resilience. She always knew that I was a resilient person and knew that I would get through this, but she was desperately worried. I remember reading it and it made so much sense to me. I related to it so well.
My mum, God bless her, is a woman to be reckoned with. I think that's where I get a lot of my feistiness from. Mum brought in Bryce Courtney's 4 Fires to the remand centre for me to read. Of course, because it's a hardcover book at that stage, I wasn't allowed to have it. So, as I said, Mum doesn't take a backward step easily. She just stood there in front of the screw and ripped the hardcover off the book and said, give that to him then.
It was a turning point. It was when I realised that I knew that I was going to get through this, but I was just sort of trying to work out how to do it. When you don't have the guidance in there of family, of friends, of psychologists or whatever else, you've got to find it from somewhere. And this book is probably the closest it come to me having a friend that I could trust and rely on, that I could use these skills and I would get through.
It takes you away, it makes you think. You're not thinking about what's for dinner, or I don't like the bloke in the cell next to me and I'm going to get him.
I remember reading the Harry Potter series, and after I read the first one, I couldn't get enough. It was a fantasy world. We were living in a real world, a real hard black hole of a world. I enjoyed the fact that it was set in a world where you could make a change. If you had these powers, you could just change where you were living and go somewhere else.
Your mind's a wonderful thing. You can be back in the gold rush, or you can be at the Battle of Trafalgar, or you can be cooking something nice at home again. It was one of the main reasons that got me through. I think the most important lesson I learned was that they had me physically, but they could never have me mentally. For the first time ever, I feel like I'm comfortable in my own skin.
The books changed me enormously from somebody who was a shell and then a very broken shell to somebody who started to claw my way back and could return to the community a much better and stronger and more educated person.